Chosen One, before this minute ends, I need you to know that the date on the calendar today has already become more important than you realize. You will not feel it shift right away. The shift is happening in a place that does not always send signals to your conscious mind in real time, but the shift is happening, and by the time you finish hearing this message, you will know it. You did not arrive at this exact moment in your exact life by accident. The route you took to get here was longer than it needed to be on purpose. Every closed door, every late answer, every detour you bitterly regretted at the time, they were all working together to deliver you, intact, to today. Now, you are here. The version of you who has been carrying everyone else's expectations is being honorably retired. The version of you who has been waiting underground, beneath the soil of all the things that did not work, is finally allowed to come up. Mark this date somewhere. Speak it aloud if you can. Today is not just another day. Today is the day a decision that was made about you long before you arrived in this body becomes visible in the world. Before I continue, I want to be direct with you about one thing. Everything I am sharing in the next 35 minutes is yours, completely, no cost. But for those whose spirit is already pulling towards something more, the description and the pinned comment hold a path. Don't click until you feel led. Now let's continue. Now, before we go any further, let me tell you exactly what is waiting for you in the rest of this message, so you know it is worth staying. By the time we finish, you will understand why this exact day, this exact hour, has been waiting for you longer than you can remember. You will receive a specific practice, written by hand, that you can do tonight to mark this threshold in a way the unseen world recognizes. You will hear the story of a chosen one who marked his own day 11 months ago and what happened to him on day 87. And you will receive a sealed declaration over your life at the close of this message, spoken in the voice of the one who has been writing your story longer than you have been awake to it. None of this works if you leave halfway through. So, if anything inside you has already said yes to this, stay with me. The door we are walking toward is at the end. I want you to come back with me, just for a few minutes, to where you have been, not to live there again, just to honor it before we leave it behind for good. The past season of your life was not an accident, and it was not punishment, it was assembly. You may not have known what was being assembled while you were inside of it. Most people don't. From the inside, formation feels like failure. From the inside, preparation feels like waste. From the inside, the long, slow building of a new version of yourself feels like the old version is dying without anything coming in to replace it. That is not what was actually happening. Something was being built. You just couldn't see the floor plan. Let me show you what I mean. There is a woman in an old story whose name was Esther. Most of what people remember about her is the moment she walked into the king's chamber and changed the destiny of her people. Most people skip the part that came before. Before the moment, before the breakthrough, before the day that history would mark as her day, Esther spent 12 full months in a single room. 12 months of oils. 12 months of spices. 12 months of being prepared by hands that were doing something to her that she did not fully understand. She did not choose those 12 months. She did not earn them. She did not pray for them. She just survived them. And then, on a single day, the room she had been waiting inside of opened, and she walked into the moment that her entire life had been quietly constructing her for. I want you to hear this slowly. The 12 months were the assignment. The single day she remembered as the turning point was just the unveiling of what those 12 months had already made her into. Your past season has been the 12 months. You have been in oils. You have been in spices. You have been in the kind of slow, quiet preparation that no one else gets to witness because it does not look like anything from the outside. People may have asked you what you have been doing with your life lately, and you may have struggled to give them an answer that sounded impressive. The reason the answer is hard is not because nothing has been happening. The reason the answer is hard is because what has been happening cannot be explained until it is finished happening. And there is something else I want to give you. Some language for what today actually is. In the original Greek, there are two completely different words for time. One of them is chronos. Chronos is the time on your phone. It is the time on your wall. It is the time that ticks, the time that runs, the time that we count when we are tired. Chronos is what you have been living inside of for the past few years. Hours that bled into days, days that bled into seasons, seasons that did not feel like they were taking you anywhere. But there is another word, kairos. Kairos is the appointed moment. Kairos is the right time. Kairos is the moment when something that has been quietly waiting in the unseen finally crosses over and becomes visible in the world. Kairos cannot be scheduled. Kairos cannot be rushed. Kairos has its own intelligence. And Kairos is the only kind of time that actually changes things. Today's Kairos. The past few years were Chronos, and they were never supposed to be more than Chronos. They were doing what Chronos is meant to do, which is to grind you slowly into a version of yourself that Kairos can finally use. The grinding was not a mistake. The grinding was the entire point. And now, the grinding is done. There were things in you that had to be removed before today could happen. The version of you who needed approval from people who were never going to give it, that had to die. The version of you who kept proving yourself to the same people who never believed you the first time, that had to die. The version of you who carried the weight of other people's disappointment as if it were your responsibility to fix, that had to die. The version of you who made yourself small so the people around you would feel comfortable, that had to die. None of those versions of you got to come into today, and that is mercy, even if it did not feel like mercy when it was happening. Let me pause here for a moment. We have been together for 9 minutes now. You have been listening, and the room around you has been listening with you. Before we continue, I just want you to take one ordinary breath and let it leave you slowly. Nothing dramatic, just one breath. The next part of this message is the part where today actually begins to land, so we are going to enter it with the room ready. And as we cross out of the past and into the present, I hear something being spoken over you in the place where things are decided before they happen. I hear it being said, the season of carrying what was never yours has ended. I hear it being said, the long preparation has done what it came to do. I hear it being said, the appointed time is no longer ahead of you. The appointed time is now. If something in you can feel that the past season was assembly and not punishment, type the word yes once in the comments below. Just yes. Let it seal in you what just turned. Now let's talk about where you actually are right now, today. There have been signs that you have been picking up on for a while, but you have not had clear language for them, and the people around you have not been able to confirm them, because most of the people around you are not at the same threshold you are at. So you have been verifying these signs in private, and quietly wondering if you were imagining them. Let me name a few, so you can stop wondering. You have noticed that places that used to feed you have started to drain you, rooms you used to enjoy, conversations you used to look forward to, group settings that used to feel like belonging. Something has shifted in how your system responds to those environments. They are not bad places. They are not bad people. The places have not changed. You have. And the disorientation you have been feeling about that change is part of the threshold. You have noticed that hobbies and routines that used to bring you something have gone quiet. The activities that you reached for, the ones that used to settle you, are not settling you anymore. You may have wondered if you were just bored, or just tired, or just going through a phase. You are not. The old maintenance practices were calibrated for the old version of you. The new version does not need the same fuel. You have noticed a creative restlessness, a wanting to make something or build something or start something that you cannot quite name yet. The wanting is not random. The wanting is information. The version of you who is forming has work to do, and it has been signaling to you that the work exists, even though It has not handed you the blueprint yet. You have noticed numbers and signs showing up more frequently than they used to. 11, 11, on a clock you happen to glance at. 3, 3, 3, on a license plate. The same phrase showing up in unrelated places in the same week. These are not coincidences. They are not random. They are the unseen world's way of touching your shoulder and reminding you that you are not as alone in this transition as it sometimes feels. And you have noticed dreams that feel pre-lived. Dreams that wake you up gently, with the sense that the dream was telling you something rather than just entertaining you. The dreams have been more frequent in the last few months. That is part of the threshold too. If you are tracking with me on any of these, I want you to picture something in your inner sight. There is a door in front of you. You have walked past it, in some form or another, 1,000 times. You felt it sometimes, as a quiet ache that woke you in the early hours and would not let you fall back asleep. As a sudden sadness in the middle of an ordinary day for a life you couldn't quite remember choosing. The door was always there. Today, for the first time, you are standing directly in front of it. The handle is in your hand. The decision to cross was already made before you got here. All that is left is the crossing itself. Today is not just another day. Today is the date when the assembly becomes visible. Today is the moment when what was being formed becomes formed. Today is the threshold where the long preparation finally meets the appointed timing. If something inside you just confirmed that, if you feel met by what I just said, I want you to stay connected to this space. There is a community of chosen ones gathering here, walking this same path, waiting for the same recognitions. Subscribe, so the next words, being prepared for the season you are entering, can find you when they are ready. And before we continue, gently press the like button, not for me, for someone else who is also standing at this same threshold tonight, in their own life, in their own room, without language for what is happening to them. Your like sends this message further into the dark until it finds them. Now, there is one more thing I want to bring into this section, because it explains the recognition you just felt in a way that almost no one is talking about. There is a specific brainwave that becomes active when a person is genuinely crossing into a new identity, not metaphorically, neurologically. Modern life has been suppressing this brainwave in most people since around the age of 7, and the suppression is one of the reasons why so many adults feel stuck, even when they know, on every other level, that they are ready to move. A neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake spent 34 years studying this exact phenomenon. He worked with research teams at MIT, at Princeton, and at several other major universities, mapping the suppression and figuring out how to reverse it. What he eventually built is called the Genius Song. It is a 7-minute audio track that uses a technique called brain entrainment to gently guide the brain back into the gamma state, the state that EEG scans have linked to intuition, breakthrough thinking, and what one researcher called the genius pattern. If your spirit is already telling you this is the tool that belongs in this season, the link is in the description and the pinned comment below. Don't rush. Stay with me for the rest of the message if you want the full context. But if you already know, the door is there. For everyone staying with me, what comes next is the part that explains why this exact day, your exact day, has been waiting for this specific recognition. Now let me show you what is on the other side of the threshold you are about to cross. I am not going to make promises about specific outcomes. I am not your prophet, but I can tell you the characteristics of the season that opens up after a day like today, because the pattern is consistent across every chosen one I have watched walk through this same crossing. The first thing that begins to shift is the way other people respond to you. People who could not see you in the old season will begin to recognize you in the new one. Some of them will call it surprise. They will say things like, "You seem different lately." They will not always be able to put their finger on what changed. The change is the assembly becoming visible. The change is the new vessel showing up in conversations where the old vessel used to apologize for taking up space. The second thing that begins to shift is the kind of opportunity that arrives at your door. Opportunities you stopped praying for because you assumed they had passed you by will reappear, but they will not look exactly the way you imagined them. They will be better fitted to the version of you that is now ready to receive them. The thing you wanted 3 years ago was being prepared for the version of you that didn't exist yet. That version exists now, so the thing can come. The third thing that begins to shift is your own internal weight. The things you have been carrying will not necessarily disappear. Some of them will, but more often, the weight of them will feel different because the muscles that carry them have changed shape. What used to crush you will now feel like exercise. What used to keep you up at night will now feel like a passing thought you can return to in the morning. There is a wisdom figure I want to bring into this section because the pattern fits: the phoenix. Most people misunderstand the phoenix story. They think the phoenix rises in spite of being destroyed. That is not the story. The phoenix rises because it was destroyed. The destruction was not the obstacle. The destruction was the mechanism. The old form had to burn so the new form could be built from the inside out. You are not the phoenix in spite of what the past few years did to you. You are the phoenix because of what the past few years did to you. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. If you can see the new season already taking shape, even if it's just an outline, type the words, "I see it," once in the comments. Just 3 words. Let your fingers seal it. I cannot promise you what specific opportunities will arrive. What I can promise is this: today's recognition makes you available for what was already being prepared for you. Availability is the qualification. Today, you become available. Now, I want to give you a specific practice you can do today with what is already in your hands that marks this threshold in a way the unseen world recognizes. I am calling it the threshold letter. It has 5 steps. None of them require you to leave the place you are sitting right now. You can do it tonight before you fall asleep. The first step is to find a piece of paper, any kind of paper, the back of a receipt, a page from a notebook, the corner of an envelope. It does not matter what kind. What matters is that it is paper, not a phone screen. Write today's date at the top, by hand, not typed. The second step is the part that goes against most spiritual practices you have been taught. List 7 specific things you are leaving behind today. Not 7 things you want, 7 things you are releasing. Most teachings tell you to write what you want to attract. At a threshold, you have to do the opposite first. The new you is not arriving from somewhere external. The new you is being uncovered from underneath what you have been carrying. Naming what you are leaving is the uncovering. If 7 feels like too many, do 5. If you do not have paper near you, use any surface you can write on tonight. The medium is not the point. The writing is the point. The third step is to read the list out loud, slowly. Each item by itself, with breath between them. Reading silently is not the same. Speaking it out loud activates the part of you that needs to hear it leave. The voice is the carrier. The fourth step is to sign the bottom of the page. Put today's date next to your signature. The signing is not symbolic. The signing is the agreement. The fifth step gives you a choice. You can either burn the letter in a safe place as a release ceremony, or you can seal it inside an envelope, write today's date on the outside of the envelope, and store it for 90 days. Then on day 90 you open it, you read it again, and you witness what happened in the 90 days between the writing and the opening. The reason this practice works is not magical, it is structural. The unseen world responds to specificity. When you name what you are leaving behind in particular language, on a particular day, with a witness, even if the only witness is your own handwriting, something on the inside of you accepts the agreement. The new identity has somewhere to land. What looked like delay was assembly. What looked like loss was filtration. What looked like wandering was preparation. What looked like silence was instruction. What looked like an ending was always the beginning of today. I want to tell you about a chosen one I will call Jay. 11 months ago, Jay marked a date the way I am asking you to mark this one. He wrote the letter. He listed 7 things. He signed it, and he sealed it, and he stored it for 90 days. On day 87, he could not wait 3 more days, so he opened it. 3 of the 7 things had quietly left his life without him noticing. 2 of them had been replaced by something better. The last 2, he realized he no longer wanted them. The threshold had not just opened a door. It had rearranged what he was walking toward. He did not earn the change. He marked the day, and the day kept its word. He did not pursue the new life. He named the old one's exit, and the new one walked in to fill the space. If something in you wants this, wants to mark today this same way, type the words, "I am ready" once, in the comments. Just 3 words. Let it seal. Before I bring this home, I want you to do one thing in your inner sight, just for a moment, while you keep listening. You don't have to move. You don't have to close your eyes if you are driving or busy. Just picture this with the part of you that sees without seeing. Picture the door we have been talking about. It is plain, wooden, worn, but solid. There is no lock on it, just a handle. On this side of the door is the room you have been living inside of for the past several years. Behind you, every season you survived. In front of you, a room you have not seen yet, but somehow recognize. Like a room you lived in once, a long time ago, before the world taught you to stop expecting rooms like that to exist. You are not stepping into the unknown. You are stepping into what you have already been becoming. Notice the moment when you decide to cross. Not the crossing itself, the deciding. That is today. Now I want to take a moment and ground all of this, plainly, before we close. Here is what I have actually been showing you across this entire message. Most thresholds in life don't fail because the person wasn't ready. They fail because the person never officially marked the moment when they crossed, which means the old self never got the message that it had been retired. The reason today matters, the actual reason, is not because of cosmic alignment alone. It is because today is the day you make the crossing official, both inside and out. Here is what you actually learned. Kairos time, the appointed moment, is something you participate in by recognizing it and marking it. The threshold letter practice is the marking. Naming what you are leaving creates the empty space that the new identity can move into. Without the naming, the new self has nowhere to land. And here is who this matters for. It is not for someone who needs to be convinced of who they are becoming. It is for someone who has already been becoming the new version for months, possibly years, and just needed the language to make it official. That is you. If any of this has resonated, the practice is in your hands. The recognition is already complete. What comes next is just integration, which brings me to something I want to say carefully, because it is connected to the science of why today's threshold actually lands in the body of the person who marks it. The decades of research at MIT, at Princeton, and at several other leading research universities have mapped very carefully what is called the decline effect. The decline effect is the suppression of gamma brainwaves that begins in most people around the age of 7. Gamma is the wave that scans show active during deep insight, during recognition, during the moments when a person is actually crossing into a new way of seeing themselves. Modern life suppresses gamma. Schools suppress gamma. The pace of how we live, the constant low-grade alertness, the screens, the noise, all of it works against the very state your nervous system needs to be in to make a threshold like today's stick. Dr. Lake spent 34 years on this. His broader work on neural longevity, what he eventually structured as the youthful brain protocol, came later, but everything traces back to that original gamma question. I am not promising you magic. I am describing measured science, the kind that has been peer-reviewed. Chosen ones have always carried gamma differently. That is part of why you felt different as a child, before life taught you to stop trusting that difference. What modern life takes from everyone, you noticed losing more sharply because you were carrying more of it to begin with. Earlier, I mentioned a tool Dr. Lake built. Let me walk you through exactly what it is and why I am bringing it to you today, on this specific day, in this specific message. A woman in her late 30s, I will call her the Seeker, had spent over a decade trying meditation, yoga, multiple retreats. The connection she was looking for never quite arrived. She bought the Genius song with what she described as nothing left to lose. 2 weeks later, when someone asked her what had changed, she answered with a single word: synchronicities. The universe, she said, had started speaking a language she finally understood. Now, before I tell you the details, let me address a few honest objections. If this is real, you might be asking, why isn't everyone using it? The answer is that the systems we live inside benefit when most adult brains are operating in survival frequency. Calm, suppressed, manageable. The research is not hidden, but it has not been promoted, and most people don't believe their own readiness, so they never look. You looked. That is part of the qualification. You might also be thinking, I have tried things before that didn't work. This is not a discipline practice. There is nothing to remember. 7 minutes, headphones, eyes closed. That is it. And you might be thinking, even $39 feels like another thing to spend. I hear that. This is not about whether $39 matters. It is about whether what you are choosing is actually the thing for this season. If it is not, you should not buy it. If it is, the price is just the doorway. The full name of what I have been walking you through is the Genius Song. This is its second mention in this message, and now is when I tell you what is actually included. If you went to a meditation app, you would pay around $15 a month. If you took an online mindfulness course, somewhere between $100 and $200. A single therapy session, around $150. A weekend spiritual retreat, $400 to $800. Professional biofeedback therapy clinics, around $300 per session, repeated over weeks. None of those, not one, target gamma specifically. The original price of the Genius Song was $49, which already made it dramatically more accessible than any traditional option. For people watching this message, the price is $39. That price is not available on Amazon. It is not available on any other platform. It is not a marketing trick. It is a deliberate decision Dr. Lake made because his mission was to reach people in actual need, not to maximize commercial reach. When you order, you receive 4 bonuses, free. Genius Child, valued at $19. The classic book that the film The Secret was originally inspired by, valued at $20. A guided visualization recording, valued at $29. And a 5-habit infographic valued at $12. $80 in bonuses, on top of the $39 core. On top of the underlying technology, Dr. Lake spent 34 years building. There is a 90-day money-back guarantee, no conditions. And even if you ask for the refund, you keep the $80 in bonuses. If today is genuinely your threshold day, the question is not whether to wait. The question is whether to mark it with the same intentionality you would mark any other turning point in your life. The work has already been done internally. The marking is just the alignment of the external. One thing before you search anywhere else. There are imitation gamma audio tracks online. Some are well-meaning attempts. Most are not. The brain entrainment protocol Dr. Lake actually developed. The link in the description leads to the genuine source. If you choose this path, choose the original. If your spirit confirms, the Genius Song link is below. Take it only if today is your day. Now let me bring you home with the closing. Before we close, I want to honor the fact that you stayed for this entire message. You did not have to. There is so much in your day pulling for your attention, and you chose to stay. That choosing was part of the marking. Release the version of you who needed permission to become. Release the timeline you thought this was supposed to take. Release the witnesses you thought had to confirm what you already knew. Release the apology you have been silently carrying for outgrowing the people who could not grow with you. And as you release, hear what is being declared over you in the place where things are decided before they happen. I hear it being said, "The seasons of carrying what was never yours have been counted. The marking is sealed. The new identity has been received. Today crosses the line. Tomorrow begins on the other side. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. The door is no longer a door. It is the room you now live in." When the next recognition of today's marking arrives in your daily life, and it will arrive, not if, when, you will recognize it. The signs will feel familiar. The invitations will feel precise. You will simply know. Trust that recognition. Destiny's embrace is not a future thing waiting for you. It is a present thing you are now learning to recognize. It is done. Mark this day. If this message did something inside you, gently press the like button one more time. Not for me. So this finds the next chosen one, who is sitting in their car right now, in their own driveway, in their own threshold, without language for what is happening to them. And someone came to mind while you were listening. Someone who has been quiet lately. Someone who has pulled away. Someone you sense is at their own threshold and does not have the words for it. Send this message to them. Today might be their day too. You are loved. The watching is over. The crossing is done. Go.